A Jack Daniels and Coke in a can.
Yeah.
I think...
Best value for money.
I remember those when I was 16.
I'm still 16.
Well, I've got a big beer of Moretti. L'Italiano Authentica.
That's intimidating.
Italiano L'Authentica.
It's like when you get a glass of Coke that's in like a pint glass, but it's that the Coke glass that's a pint, and you look at it, you're like, for some reason that just looks like an absurd amount of liquid.
I mean, a pint is an absurd amount of liquid.
Yeah, if you're a hobbit. For a human, I'm like, I've got 8 of those in blood.
It comes in pints. Okay.
Good.
Welcome to Magic the Flavouring, the Magic the Gathering podcast, where we talk about all things magic, flavour design, and lore. I'm your host, Andy Mann.
Hello, I'm Nathan Cancel.
So it turns out, Magic the Gathering isn't completely dead.
Not quite. Though my Marvel Secret Lair arrives tomorrow morning.
Did you get one?
I got the Iron Man.
Fuck, don't tell people. That's like you shouldn't tell people if you've won the lottery. Don't tell people you've got the cards.
I mean, I didn't get... Yeah.
Did you use the secret URL that got you in?
No, I literally was in within... I had to be in within seconds.
Did you really get it?
Yeah.
How much of it did you get?
I literally just got the Iron Man. I'm not flush enough to be like, I want all of it, and I'm not precious enough. Like, even after missing out on the Doctor Who Secret Lair, having bought the 4 decks and being like, I kind of regret not getting it in the moment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have used them for anything. The Iron Man I'm potentially I'm going to use, whereas Storm looked... This is now apparently we're starting with a tiny little like review of this, but I find Storm to be a bit too linear, and the equity across all the cards wasn't enough that I'm like, I have all of these cards in need of some kind of printing, be it from random foreign to extended art or whatever. So I don't need any of these cards on top of the commander, and none of the commanders excited me enough to want to build them by themselves. But I did the thing of where I looked at the Iron Man one and went, I'm pretty sure commander's plate is at least like $40, and I looked it up and it was, and I was like, well, at that point, I'm just getting Iron Man for free.
Yeah.
So, and apparently I also get a cute little Groot with a sculpting still, which is the bonus card for that. Or apparently there's also rare bonus cards, which, can I just say, I don't like a lot of things about Secret Lair anyway. I don't like the fact this was the only way I could get my first Marvel characters that I could actually give a shit about, That is quite frustrating, and I understand why it's so alienating for some people. However, I can't help but shill a little bit, and it's quite nice to have a little bit of the cool glitzy glammy thingy before we get Spider-Man next year.
It's a bit of controversy. I said we needed to keep this recording tight, and I'm already derailing. There's a bit of controversy about Iron Man and like the process of like the secret layers and how the art's used. Do you know about this?
I don't know about specifically Iron Man.
I retweeted it. It's from Donato Giancola, the artist.
No, I do know this.
Yeah.
Where they took his treatment to be like, this is what you should all look from.
He's part of like the art deck and like the kind of reference sheet for a painting he did years ago of Iron Man, and he said that he didn't want to be a part of the secret Lair project.
But they
or
very
Universes
clearly
Beyond,
used this as the
but
basis
they used
for
his
it.
as like as a key art like sort of thing reference sheet, and he's like, fuck you.
It's almost like whenever they have these long-term agreements, somehow they find a way to go, nah.
Yeah, or like good faith agreements. This is just Brandon Sanderson all over again.
It's exactly that, This is someone who's worked with you for a really long time.
Done some of the most iconic artworks.
Why can't you just be really just be decent?
Just be nice.
Just be like, by the way, and I guess the whole point for him is, right, he's going, this specific product is a no-go. And they don't. This is where people say, "Oh, pay with your wallet," or speak with your wallet. It doesn't matter. They only made a certain number of these to know that they would absolutely always sell out. To know that this is then a good product.
Yeah.
They're not going to look at all the millions of people, however many, it's a number that will say that, oh, it sold out in 5 hours. It didn't. It sold out in like 10 seconds. Because if you were like outside of those 10 seconds, you weren't going to be in the queue to be able to get that. I don't know how I was lucky enough to still have the Iron Man 4 hours later than when I first logged in.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, I was in within seconds.
That's cool.
So
I mean, is it cool or is it just wild?
It's wild. It's wild. Yeah, it is crazy. But it's the fact that they're really bad, as you say, in these good faith agreements. When it comes to the kind of like corporate side of things, which is kind of frustrating because they're trying to be good faith in terms of going, hey, we know we're changing Magic a lot next year. Let's try and set a base for it and give you just a little bit more. Do you reckon we're talking foundations?
Yeah. So last week we did Jumpstart Legends. So specifically for the Jumpstart product. This is essentially our Flavour Picks episode for Foundations, but let's be real, this set's going to be in standard for 5 years. And I was saying to you, we could do a whole host of episodes based on this set, We're going to look a little bit at the legends, just do a quick breeze by of some of the returning legends or new cards with returning legends on them. And then the bulk of this episode is going to be us kind of looking at how they've treated the colours and what cards, because it's half reprints, half new cards. What have they included in the set? But you can... This set could be used as a case study for so much to do with Magic.
Yeah, well, so what I was just about to say is, do you reckon it's kind of a bit like, hey, we need to really shine a light on what makes Magic Magic?
100%.
But do you think it's a little bit cheap that they've gone, but that's it for the next 5 years, we're not actually going to restate it
Oh,
in
interesting.
5 years?
I had a less cynical... Well, I had a cynical approach...
I hadn't thought about it in that way until just now.
I had a cynical approach that was maybe was less cynical in a way. I don't know how to... Yeah. In my mind, I thought about it as they're going to hit us with all this Universes Beyond stuff. And as much as that panel, there's so many anecdotes in all the videos of the panel, which obviously you watched, how it was like, MSRP is coming back, fuck yeah! And then dead silence about the new stuff. It's the meme with
when the boys are going crazy and when the boys are all just not happy.
Yeah, it was apparently like dead silent in the crowd.
It was real, it was a pendulum.
But I think they must have known that, because there is no effing way. I don't know why I said effing. I've said fuck 5 times on this episode already. I don't know. There's no fucking way that they were going to go, here's all this shit that's going to completely rupture, for better or for worse, how you feel about Magic. And then simultaneously but also, we're changing this to a 5-year set, and it's going to be the most Magic set that we've maybe done in about a decade. I mean, it's the most Magic the Gathering set that there's ever been.
I guess the argument for it, right, is that there's a reason we haven't done core sets, or like, for a while, and then when the most interesting core sets that people talk about being something like, 10th edition or Origins, of where it's been that kind of like reset vibe, and that's the only reason why it has that little bit more oomph to it.
Yeah.
Because if you go back every year and you see the same boring vanilla, reprints, like, it's not...
There are some in this set, let's be fair.
Yeah, but again, that's fine, because we're not going to see them again next year and then again the year after, because there's only so many cards at like a beginner level.
Yeah.
So there is a one side of it which is like, for 5 years you just want to kind of have the same core set, because doing more core sets would become derivative and make and kind of wash out the other sets. But then I also do think that to say, hey, this is Magic at its base thing, this is the purest Magic set, but it also means we don't have to worry about that for another 5 years before we restate ourselves.
I mean, there are 500 plus cards in this set. That's big. It's a big set.
Yeah.
And I think, weirdly enough, I know I keep referring to Twitter, but it is a good litmus test for some of my thoughts and feelings on this. I did a post about that they've printed the Exquisite Blood Sanguine Bond combo into Standard. And not only that, a lot of people have pointed out that actually in the sealed environment for Foundations, there's also that priest, that blood priest, that is the pinger for like every time you get in life, target opponent loses life. So they've actually printed it technically into sealed. And that post that I've done about the mechanics of the game has exploded, maybe more than any of all those posts that I've put up in like the past few, and it's wild. And people are like really giving me their opinions, or like, well, actually this and actually that. No diss, like you guys know the game better than I do, but you're actually me so much. Whereas I'll put up something like, I think this baseball bat's fucked Magic, and the post will get traction, but most people will go, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not
I guess
really.
People are willing to. Yeah, it's weird. I guess. The thing, and I messaged you back about this when we were talking, and I swear to God there was also a Harmless Offering Demonic Pact combo in Standard, but it's not within this set, so I don't know where I got that from. But I know I'm informed in some fashion. Whoever's listening to this might be like, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I can't find it anymore. But it's funny that Standard at the moment has had a goldfish. I think they've banned the ley line, the red ley line, but it had it had a goldfish turn 2 win, because you just ley line out on turn 1, and then you can just spam enough +3/+0 effects onto a creature with not heroic with oh good lord, what are the Valiant?
Oh sure,
enough Valiant triggers, and obviously it gets doubled with the red ley line, so you just were able to just dish out like 20 damage. It was like Boris Bushwhacker. You could win on turn 3 very comfortably, but this you could win on turn 2. Now that's an aggro deck, but combo decks are supposed to win on turn 2. So the combo deck is actually on like a turn 5
Yeah,
basis.
A lot of people are saying it's not as egregious as maybe I'm making out.
Yeah, because the thing is that every other style of play, archetype, is so much more degenerate now that a combo deck, when you're only one colour and control elements to get you there and protection spells to get you there, aren't so powerful in a standard set, probably balance it out enough that you might even need that kind of like, hey, if I can kill those first two creatures efficiently, using maybe a stab or something like that, which we'll get into, like those, if I can do that and then set up my combo, that's actually a fair game, because the aggro deck then needs to start having some, I can't just go all in, I also have to have some backups, and maybe also a piece of something that can interact with the interaction. So if anything, the combo is keeping Magic fair, which is kind of insane.
Okay, I like that. I wasn't making a judgment call. I'm just going to say this now. Like, I'm not going to do like mass replies online or anything. But all I was saying was, as an EDH player, seeing that combo, the black combo, which like I don't run that combo in my live game deck because I think it's
so
oppressive.
Popular, right? It's
so to see it in a standard set and ostensibly in a sealed set is like that's wild.
I feel like it's the premier black combo as well. That's the thing, right? It's like
annoyingly. Again, I don't play it out of. I'm cool with not playing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I guess so. Some of the things we wanted to talk about, or some of the things that I initially wanted to talk about, were things like how the cycles within this set are. It's kind of almost like a throwback to our first episodes of where we talked about like how each color is represented in Alpha and what Richard Garfield was trying to express that color as.
Yeah.
And this is basically a restatement of going, hey, if we're only able to choose one Planeswalker to represent this color, who do we choose?
This is an odd lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we might as well get into it, because there are some individual
let's
cool
do the
picks.
colour stuff first, and then we'll run through the legends at the end if we have time.
So the way I put it was, what did I put initially for this? Walkers. Oh, the new one and the rest, right?
There's two new ones.
Yeah, and do you know why I didn't notice?
Because it's almost exactly the same as every other one they printed.
It's also because there's 19 other ones that I kind of just assumed I'd forgotten about one. But anyway, let's start with white, as we always do, and this kind of pulls double G. Or the way I like to call it, let's look at the support Walker, and I have kind of given a name to each of these as what I think they're trying to speak as to what this Planeswalker is able to provide in gameplay, whilst also being like the face of Magic right now, which is of course Ajani.
Yeah,
and he pulls double weight here. Both he's his 3 mana iteration, 1 white for 4 loyalty, a +1 loyalty to put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature, the -3 to give target creature flying and double strike, -8 X 2/2 white cat creature tokens, where X is your life total. So within all of that, you've got the +1/+1 support aspect of white. You've got the flying double strike, kind of getting that little bit over, whilst also allowing flying to be part of the blue-white archetype. We'll get into that later. And then the ultimate being White Sun Zenith, but also just making a bunch of cats.
Yeah.
It's a support. It supports tokens, it supports going tall as well as going wide, and then it also allows you to go wide if you can keep him protected. Plus, he's a cat.
Well, yeah, so they seem to have really lent in, as we'll get into it with all the colours, they've really archetyped them, which you would expect in a base set. It seems to be angels and cats are the big ones for white.
Yeah.
Now, from a flavour point of view, if you're going to speak to like mechanically, this is what they're doing, and if I do my usual thing of, because I don't really know as much as yours about the mechanics, I've got feelings about things.
I'm a little more male than you are.
Yeah. Why the fuck are they doing Ajani again?
Yeah.
They have Elspeth, the angel,
who's just
right
this
there.
Whole big art.
Right there.
Well, it's box art, right? I think he sells as a character because he's got his Leonin, grin.
Out of the 5 Planeswalkers, 3 of them are part of the Lorwyn 5.
True.
Does that not tell you something? That I think they've really shown their hand here a bit.
So I guess so a good thing to bring up is you've said Elspeth. And I guess Elspeth, as much as she's fan favourite, I don't feel like she's core set enough. Like, she's not at the core of what everything's been happening. She's not been...
Her sword is literally on a set symbol.
Yeah, but Ajani, I feel like, has had longer staying power. And this particular... So the other thing is, look at all of the other Elspeths. Apart from Elspeth Knight Aran, are they maybe too complicated for a core set?
But complicated maybe, but like in terms of bringing... If we're about the new... Having 3 or 5 Planeswalkers that were part of the original set of Planeswalkers is a backwards move.
So this is why I think that and this is why I've labelled each of them the way I've labelled them, is that I feel like I looked at this at a lens of what is they've kind of ignored who they are and their story relevance. Obviously, they've put him back in kind of his middle thing of he's just travelling the plains, with his Nakatl double-edged axe thing.
The artwork for each of the Planeswalkers are featured on one of the full art artworks, and then the legendary key creature is on the other one. Ajani is sat in Theros, so this is his kind of, he's maybe just after he's had his little Throsian green-white arc with Elspeth, you know.
Yeah, whereas his original one is I can't remember what core set he's from, but the original printing of Ajani, Caller of the Pride, was from a core set, so he doesn't have any particular tie or affiliation to any plane for that. But he is supposed to just be the low drop floor, because he's the cheapest out of the 5. Well, sorry, the blue one's also 3 mana. But he's very cheap. He comes down early and he provides what I like, a nice, as I said, supporting role. So it's not this big deviation on what Planeswalkers have been recently, of where it might only have like only small abilities. Might not have like an ultimate, for example. Whereas, and he obviously doesn't have a static ability, which weirdly enough a couple of the others do. So I feel like he's a nice simplistic, easy to grok, easy to play with Planeswalker that just kind of does the efficient support thing. And I don't think any of these Planeswalkers, when you read them, apart from one maybe-ish, are too egregious in terms of this is the ability line, it's very easy to tie to the flavour of the character, and it's quite easy to play with.
Yeah.
Moving on to a new one, even though we've also had a new one, which is, again, interesting with how this is just a core set that's been playing for 5 years, but it was printed now, and we've just had a Kaito, and now we've got another Kaito.
Yeah.
Kaito, Cunning Infiltrator. Weirdly enough, still face of the game, even though Jace is very much in this big arc, and I guess they've finally listened and say no more Jace.
I think Kaito is maybe just a more interesting character all round for, like, if Magic is kind of keen to sort of be a little bit tropey at the moment, Kaito has a lot of, like...
he's telepathic ninjas.
He's a telepathic ninja.
Way cooler than emo dude from 2010.
A little bit like Jace is just a bit generic wizard.
Yeah,
I think it's more that. Whereas Kaito, I think, has got a much more sort of tropey, in some aspects, like character arc. He is a ninja with a little tanuki droid.
Yeah. Right?
It's very...
He's very
cyberpunk.
Cool, yeah. He's very zeitgeisty. So his name's Kaito, Cunning Infiltrator, 1 blue for 3 loyalty. Has a static ability. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on Kaito. The piracy Bident of Thassa ability thing it has. +1 to up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Draw a card, then discard a card. -2 to create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token. -9, you get an emblem. Whenever a player casts a spell, you create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token. So I guess from a flavour point of view, yeah, it makes more sense to have him because he's more interesting and a little bit more like rad, and not so generic.
He's radical.
He gives off that rad vibe. Yeah. But also, I feel like generic Jace. I don't think any of the Jaces play to the kind of the flavour of what they want Blue to be playing to be doing. Well, as a
Jace still draws cards. I'm surprised it isn't like the OG Jace Balerin, right?
Yeah, but I guess that's way too generic. That is just symmetrical draw isn't so easy to play with either. And I think the point of this is what I said for this was, if I quickly check my notes, is I said that this guy was just evasion, right? He's playing, he puts a body on the board if you're not playing a load of bodies because you're playing blue and you might have a few more non-creature spells. But he specifically allows you to make a creature unblockable to get in, to put a counter on him, and then obviously has the draw discard because, it's blue, it's going to have some kind of like card manipulation or card quality. And his -9, the fact you can kind of hit that the turn you play him. Because you can play him on turn 4, turn 5, you've made a bunch of like tokens, swing in with them, happen to hit like 3 or 4 times, and then you might even be able to activate him on that turn. Probably more in like EDH or something like that's going to happen. But the fact that this is mostly just going, here, I'm creating evasion, a way for your guys to get through. You can play big dude, you can pair it with green, play big dudes, and then he can nip them in. Or you can play with a bunch of little dudes in white and then get his loyalty up massively. He's self-sufficient, which is weird. Like, to have a blue planeswalker, a blue non-creature spell, generate tokens consistently is a bit more aggressive, and I feel like blue over the years, if we look back over, back at Alpha and how it tried to be a little bit more controlling and had, counterspell at 2 mana and things like that. Unsummon was in the set. I don't even think Unsummon and Boomerang might have been in the set. There was a lot of control elements, whereas now it's more, how do we differentiate blue? It's all about evasion. It's all about getting in the sneaky. And then there's always this incidental drawing and discarding effects that seem to be happening. You're churning through your deck quicker, but it's not necessarily super efficient. Your creatures are still 2/1s. So it's not like you're keeping up with any of the other colours, but at least you've got this other avenue to be sneaky and kind of like get this little nudge in.
Yeah.
So I think it's a cool card. I think it's nice to see him in mono blue. I don't think of him as a very black character, but then I also don't really think of him very much as a blue character either, which is weird.
Well, that's why, because not to be this guy, I think that's because he is a blue-black character. Do you know what I mean? He's all about, as much as he's maybe not always the sharpest tool in the shed, he is a telekinetic, like character. He does manipulate things. He does use the shadows.
It's in the name. He's cunning.
He's cunning. Like being a practitioner of ninjutsu and the ninja arts, like they are about like using fear and sort of distraction and all these kind of like almost like mind game elements, but kind of underhanded mind game elements.
Yeah.
This is, by the way, my knowledge of all this comes from American films and TV. I'm not like, do you know what I mean?
Blue-Eyed Samurai.
This
Afro
is
Samurai.
This is the trope of what they portray on these cards.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not. Before anyone jumps down my throat.
Yeah, I mean, he's tropey, he's troperific.
Yeah.
So our black representative is, shockingly enough, Liliana, Dread Horde General. So this
a powerful reprint.
Very powerful reprint. I think it's worth putting something like this strength in, when I think also they were originally going to put her with the artwork in Bloomborough. They didn't. You can clearly tell from the artwork, the squirrel artwork, it's this one. This is clearly why they didn't put it in that set. They were putting it in here, and they didn't want to do it back to back. Fair enough, cool, whatever. So obviously we know what she does. She does she's the one from War of the Spark. She having a static ability. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. Making a zombie, making each player sacrifice 2 creatures, and then the ultimate, each opponent chooses a permanent they control and sacrifices the rest. Actually, kind of a white ability. Like a lot of the tragic arrogance and single combat and things like that are white abilities. This idea of you choose one and get rid of everything else, but mass sacrifice obviously being a very black ability. This is very quintessentially black, right? It's just, it cares about things dying. It wants. I even put, I think, for her as recursion, but it's not recursion. She just wants things. Like, black just wants things to die.
Well, it's as we said in one of our very first episodes, it's the color of spite.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like, so obviously the way that MTG players play the game is that it's you sacrificing your shit, but really it's also the idea of going, oh, you're going to kill my creature? Well, I draw a card. Oh, well, I get to sacrifice something. You're going to have to sacrifice 2 things. That kind of back and forth. Or like that. We all sacrifice shit, but I want my stuff to die. So fuck
exactly,
you.
Yeah. And I'm going to benefit off of either of them dying anyway.
Yeah.
And I guess this is cool because she's 6 mana, so she's coming at the end, like towards the end of your game. I guess. Like, I don't know how long they expect standard games to naturally be at.
6 mana is pretty beefy, man.
But I like the fact
not the most expensive one on the list either.
No, I like the fact that she comes down at the end when you've kind of already got yourself set up. And you can afford to have your things die. You can afford to just add a creature to the board and have this the static ability of whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. Like, you've probably already set yourself up with some sacrifice outlets, or you're attacking in for the last bit of damage, and it's either, hey, you take the damage or I start drawing some cards. Whereas both Kaito and Ajani need to come down early to be part of the proactive game plan instead of coming in and being, say, like an answer. You play her at 6 mana and do the -4 to have each player sacrifice 2 creatures, and you've probably maybe set your opponent back to maybe no board. You've still got your big creature, and then you can, I like that gameplay aspect. I think it kind of is probably justified to why she's the one that they picked. Any other Black Walkers you think you might have wanted to see instead?
I mean, if I'm honest, and I would kind of have liked them to do a full new roster of like a new 5, like the Foundations 5, again to get away from this Law and 5 runs. Davriel Kane.
Yeah,
he's a quintessentially black character who hasn't had a really decent run out on paper. If they're going to make a new Planeswalker card for someone who's going to be the embodiment of their card, I would have said him. Or potentially maybe, I don't know, I was going to say...
Do you think they maybe want to avoid discard being one of the... Because there isn't a lot of discard in here. I don't think there's a Thoughtseize or a, what's it, Duress effect in this. I
think there is on a creature or 2. I think it is nestled in there. I don't know, man. I think if they're content of doing new cards Planeswalkers, I think why not give it to one that's going to be sort of another character moving forward.
Sure. I guess we haven't seen the end of Liliana, right? Her story isn't at a close yet.
But this is,
whereas
again,
Ajani, I would think...
This is Liliana halfway through her story.
Yeah.
She's got the chain veil on, she's got a dress on.
Well, you can't put Professor Onyx, can you?
Well, no, I don't know, man.
And that was her last iteration,
again,
right?
I think she's one of these characters that's had so much nuance. There have been so many cards of her printings where they've just kind of gone, do you know what, it's Liliana the Dark Realms, whatever, but it's... her as a this thing, or in this part of her life, or with this tableau.
I guess the big thing for me is if you want black to be the colour of death, as well as whatever else you're doing with it. Obviously, we'll talk a bit later, but there's this idea of hoity-toity aristocracy that has got this kind of like privileged position of, oh yes, as you said, the spite thing, and spite comes from a position.
I mean, again,
of privilege.
Davriel Kane.
Yeah, but I feel like Liliana's a little bit more invested.
She's quintessential, but this is the problem they're facing with any of these picks. And this is what I'm saying about they've shown their hand by having 3/5 being from the OG Planeswalker set. It's like they've gone, this is a new beginning for Magic. Come in and this will be the start of the thing. And also, all this other lore that's from other IPs. And what they've done was, to bring people in on the Magic side, is gone, look at all this wonderful lore that we've cultivated for 30 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that you can't have your cake and eat it. Either you want to go like, no, we're moving forwards with our game. Or you go, you admit that actually what made the game what it is now is all the stuff that you've built. And you can maybe what they're doing, to give them maybe some credit and to kind of, devil's advocate myself, is that they're going, we have this lore, let's celebrate it.
Yeah. Did they just maybe hit the nail on the head the first time and they look back and they're going, there isn't a better representation for this? But I think when we get to green, we can argue the other side of that argument.
Yeah.
Before we do that, should we go through the 20th iteration of
Fuck
Chandra?
me. And also, and like, no shade.
Actually, literally the 20th version of this card.
No shade to Mark Winters. I'm sorry. I don't love slagging off artists. This is a beautiful painting, a fantasy painting. This might be the most boring Chandra painting I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah. Are you
Whatever
looking about it
brief you were
compared
given,
to the rest of them? It's like, what makes her... What is making this one pop more?
Who is that, even?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And also, just the I mean, read the card. I can't even.
Sure. So, Chandra Flame Shaper. Really cool hononym there. Like, really bashing it out with some new direction.
Yeah.
Bring back Just to Kill. Five red. So a 7 mana Chandra. This is the most expensive she's been. She starts with 6 loyalty, +2 to add red. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. Choose 1. You may play that card this turn.
That's a wild. That's ramp and impulse draw.
She costs 7 mana.
That's still wild.
You're
For a
paying
plus ability.
Yes, you're paying 7 mana. At that point, you're getting 3 mana, so you're paying 7 mana to get 3 mana to play
and draw?
To maybe get to play a 3
2
drop.
loyalty? That's an ultimate.
She doesn't have an ultimate.
Fuck.
Anyway, +1, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it has haste, and at the beginning of end step, sacrifice this token. Is it nice we're going back to her elemental things, her elemental... I want to say roots, but it isn't, because her roots didn't have this, and then she went through a phase of making elementals.
As someone who did enjoy the little story that they did in the core set where they did all
the 3 different places,
and they were all elemental based. As much as I love that, that's what's run cold for me.
Because she still doesn't do it.
She's a damage mate.
Well, it's just like, Chandra's Flame Phoenix or whatever. Yeah. It's like, that doesn't exist.
Chandra's Incinerator, never seen that.
No, that's just that's just a fiery elemental.
She learned to do fire elementals in one point of her life,
and it never comes up again.
And then it's like, fine, but she can do that. Okay, whatever.
This is where I know you're trying to explain. And I guess the other thing as well is from a gameplay point of view,
M21.
Do you want red to kind of be this set where you go, or this color that goes, hey, we also make these cool hasty tokens because there is another card in this set that does the same thing? Are you trying to restate what the color does? At that point, cool, fair enough. I think having a token copy version of things is fine.
Well, isn't it funny that again, out of the 5 planeswalkers, only one of them doesn't make a token? They all make a token, except for the green one.
That's so... No, I guess so far. Isn't that strange?
That's wild, isn't it?
I hadn't noticed that. Yeah, crazy. And her -4, so she starts at 6, -4. 8 damage dividers you choose among any number of target creatures and or walkers. They couldn't... There's something in my brain that doesn't like it when they just don't say any target. Just make it any. Is it 7 mana for 8 damage? You've literally got a card in this set that is 10 damage for 3 mana.
Yeah.
I know it's specifically if they have 10 life. I get that, cool, whatever. But you've just made 7 mana to deal 8 damage and you can't target your opponent's face? Are you that scared about burn? Because I don't see Lightning Bolt in the set. Anyway, weird that she's 7 mana. There are so many versions of her that there are enough other options that I think you could have chosen that still represent red well enough. I say you go for the fucking... I know it may be too powerful, but you go for the 4 mana version from Kaladesh, in my mind. Because that shows all the different things that red does, but earlier on the curve, maybe 4 damage to a creature at 4 mana is too strong. I don't know. But this right here is fine, and it's cool to have another expression of Chandra. It'd be nice if she looked actively older.
Is it?
If she looked kind of a little bit older, like say 40s, 50s, and this is where we eventually see
flash
she gets
forward.
And that's why she's 7 mana, because she's a little bit further on in life.
She's now more like a Jaya Ballard figure.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. Had they done that would have been a really interesting take on her.
I rag on Chandra a lot in this podcast. I think she's a very needed component of Magic for the kind of character she is, the sort of stories she tells, everything from obviously like her impulsiveness, her character, her sexuality, if you want to kind of like look at that, focus on things. There's so much about her character where it's like Magic would be poorer if she wasn't one of the main characters.
Yeah, I think Chandra Nissa was one of the better things to get like corporately boycotted and then completely
reversed, like
they 180'd on.
However, having said that, they do her no justice in printing her into the ground and all the different cards, and this is maybe one of the worst versions I've ever seen for her to be printed into a set.
I also think that the magic that she does, you're kind of stealing Jaya's like edge with doing the exiling and the mana thing, because I'm pretty sure that her 2 red, 3 red, the 5 mana one, that I think did a very similar thing to this as well. So I guess you're maybe just compiling it all. I just feel like, and then carrying on with, I guess Garrick's never coming back.
Well, we can't have 4 Planeswalkers out of the Lorwyn 5.
But I feel like Garrick hasn't been around for long enough that you're like...
I think Will and Rowan killed him. I think they murdered him.
We got Vivian Reed.
I like Vivian Reed.
Which version of Vivian Reed?
The bad one.
Vivian Reed.
I think what's the Magali Villeneuve artwork one? Champion of the Wilds?
Yeah. The 3 mana one.
That's the best one.
I think that would have been quite cool. Again, had they done static abilities on all of them, I think that's the best way to go for it. So Vivian Reed is the 5 mana one. I can't remember what set that this was from, actually, off the top of my head.
Was this not a core set? This was her introduction.
Was it? Was it not Ikoria?
No, she wasn't on Ikoria. No, she was, because remember, she had those just after Ixalan. They gave her a triplet of stories where she was on Ixalan in Torozon. Okay.
I could have sworn that we had a.
I think she was introduced in a core set. I think it was M21.
Yeah, it might have been actually. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the top. Look at the top 4 for a +1. You may reveal a creature or land, put it into your hand. The rest of the bottom random. Pardon me, random order. -3 to destroy an artifact, enchantment, creature with flying. -8, get an emblem. Creature you control have +2/+2, vigilance, trample, and indestructible.
Green.
5/5. Yeah, 5/5 loyalty. I kind of feel like, this is all the things that Green wants to do.
Core set 2019.
You're close.
Boo.
Delete. Yeah, so deleting like a non-creature thing. Like this is cool. That's what Green does. Searching off the top to get either lands or creatures. Also very green, and then an emblem that pumps everything. Very green. I know it's all creature based, or I guess there's a removal in the middle, but I feel like Garrick. I feel like maybe his 6 mana version is just a little bit cooler. And annoyingly, you go down not very far, and Garrick's Uprising is in the set. So it's not like you've ignored that he exists entirely. It's just I think maybe Garrick is a better representation of basic green. I feel like Vivian's got maybe a little bit more nuance to her. I don't know. I like her a lot. I just feel like she's not. I mean, I guess. I'm sad that we're just not seeing Garrick again, because this for me is like that was the perfect opportunity. She can keep being in the story for the next few years. Garrick doesn't have to be. At least he could have just been in the background in a core set.
I think they should have pulled a real flex and done Freyalise, Lanoir's Fury, OG Freyalise.
Oh yeah. Oh, that would have been sick.
Elves destroy target artifact or enchantment. Draw a card for each green creature you control.
Yeah, collected company.
Yeah. I think they really should have flexed it.
Yeah, fair enough. And this is an Elfie set.
Exactly. So, or do Ren and 7.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, or do Ren and 7, yeah. Which is also... I guess it's a bit too wordy. I think I don't know, I guess the idea is you want each ability to be fairly simple in what it's trying to do, because that you want it to obviously be a representation of the flavour of the colour. I guess from one mythic cycle to the other mythic cycle, and this is of new creatures. New creatures. On Mythic Spoiler, it's swapped the 2 mythics in the white column.
Yeah, it's weird.
So basically, we've got a non-reprint card of what the most powerful creature in this colour, or like in terms of mythic being a distinguishment of how powerful a card is. What's the most powerful a creature can be in this colour? And I think this is where it starts getting kind of interesting and cool. We can start picking at things a bit more. Fuck off, Planeswalkers. No one likes you anyway.
No.
Aren't some of you desparked?
Again, this is my point. Again, they've gone back to the face characters. Aren't all of these legendary creatures running around? They're all fucking Planeswalkers.
Yeah, to be fair, I think Ajani's... No, even Ajani got his play. Yeah, none
They're
of these...
They're all Planeswalkers.
That's funny, isn't it? And they could have done a new...
Maybe
anyway.
We had it right since Lorwyn, guys.
Yeah, maybe everything's been broken for the last... 10, 12 years. So, Herald of Eternal Dawn. This is one of the big flagship cards that came out quite early. 4 white for a 6/6 flash flying. You can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. It's Platinum Angel in white, but quick. Yeah.
The artwork is banana.
Yeah, all of the artwork's banana. I don't know if I don't think we'll talk about the alternate arts for this in this episode.
I mean, do we have 4 hours?
No.
No.
So, I am the light that breaks the darkness. Isn't it? Surely it should be I am the light that breaks the dawn, or breaks for dawn, or provides the dawn, or allows the dawn. I don't know. The darkness sounds.
No, you break. Yeah, the break of dawn.
Yeah.
So the
I
dawn
am the
breaks
light at
darkness.
the break of dawn. Yeah.
Well, that's just a different sentence.
Yes, but because it's clearly dawn behind her.
I am the light emitted from a star.
It's like I am the light that breaks a kind of a little bit cloudy. That's what the artwork's telling me. Anyway, I like this Angel's Grace being a very, like, they want Angel's Grace to be a pinnacle magic, a pinnacle white flavour for what a thing can do. You can't die right now. Don't worry about it. And there was someone who turned around saying, like, oh, I wish it would cost a little bit less white. I'm like, this is trying to be the most white.
Yeah.
You know, this is a very white effect.
This is a set with omniscience in it.
Yeah, they're telling you this is very, very white.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, having said that, the blue one is 4 mana.
Yeah, but it's 4 mana for an effect that's usually 2 mana.
So it's Sphinx of Forgotten Lore. Oh god, have I taken this on with a point? 3/3 creature Sphinx with flash and flying. Flash flying. I was going to...
Yeah. No.
You can't portmanteau it, can you? No. Whenever this creature attacks, fuck me. Ashing, no. Whenever this creature attacks, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. The flashback cost is equal to the card's mana cost.
So it's repeatable Snapcaster Mage, which is quite nice. You can flash it at the end of turn because you want to teach people that blue likes doing things at tricky times. It allows you to keep your interaction up and then throw it down at the end of turn to then get the effect on the next turn. Creature type we didn't really speak about with Herald of the Eternal Dawn. Angels are the big creature type for white. That hasn't changed. That won't change. Sphinxes being the big blue. I'm glad they went for Sphinxes instead of sea serpents.
Well, there is a bit of that, isn't there?
Well, yeah, the way I look at that is that's just because the batching of octopuses, serpents, leviathans, and octopi, or octopuses, because of that batching, I feel like it's nice to have the succinctness of Sphinx, because you only have to worry about that creature type, and they always do weird, cool things. They can be on any plane. They have this kind of like mystery kind of feeling. A serpent has that. It's mysterious in the fact that I can't see it, but it's scary. Whereas a mystery has like overt, even when talking to it, it's clever. It's
the design of a sphinx since time immemorial, because sphinxes are an ancient sort of like myth. They've got a human face.
Yeah.
And that's just the most important
thing. More relatable as well, yeah. But they're still enigmatic, you know. They've still got some depth to them. I think this is cool. It's nice. I like the fact that it's not, as you were saying, it's 4 mana. I'm glad it's not like Lorthos. You know, or like some big 8/8 whatever. I'm glad it has like no, this is powerful because of what it does, not because of how big it is.
Yeah,
and that's what Blue's all about. Blue isn't about having an 8/8.
Yeah, I think it's if it had an ETB effect. So like I run my Cody deck, one of the permutations of that is the Sphinxes, and I try and go for as many Sphinxes with ETBs.
But doesn't that also then let you get your polymorph effects back?
Yeah, I mean it might make.
I guess once you've morphed a bunch of Sphinxes, you don't need to do it again.
I get 3 Sphinxes on the battlefield, and people are like, "Oh, well, that's that." I guess. Yeah.
Cool. So we've already kind of talked about it. The Bloodthirsty Conqueror, a name that I'm surprised hasn't already been used.
It's a good name.
Same with Sphinx of Forgotten Lore. These all sound like names of already things.
It's fucking again rad artwork.
So this is a 5 mana, 3 black 5/5 vampire knight with flying and death touch. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. So this is the
Exquisite Blood.
Exquisite Blood, yes. Speaking of which, flavor text. This town swims with such exquisite blood. I will take every drop for my own.
I mean, this is about as hardcore as vampires get.
Yeah, is that too on the nose to have literally the words right next to each other in the flavor text of the card
that
it is?
As far as wink wink nods goes, this is for Magic players, by the way. But also, if you're not a Magic player and you read it, you go, yes, that makes sense. That's why it's clever.
Have we ever talked about how the vampires in Innistrad have like ridiculously crimson hair and it's sexy as fuck?
Only if they're a part of the Voldorian.
Yeah, I'm not really. It's only because I'm seeing this now out of context, knowing that that's Innistrad, that's part of Olivia's brood.
Yeah.
Oh my god, why hotness?
Yeah.
Redhead vampires.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I like Axe to be a bit more like about things. I also fucking love Axe Shield combos. I always think that's fun.
Yeah, very. The shield in general seems very un-Innistrad-y. Like this feels like someone like might be from like Theros or something. It's really, really, really cool. Of course, a flying death toucher being a vampire. Vampire having the So the curious thing here is it's not a demon, right? Normally the big creature type for black is demon.
Yeah.
And there are a bunch of demons in this. I say a bunch. There's enough of them to say there's many. And then there's a bunch of vampires in this set. So they're very clearly knuckling down on these are the two lead creature types.
I think vampires are just more accessible and also just more popular.
Yeah. I guess also just demons have a little bit of ick, from back in the day of where a lot of Christian parents wouldn't allow their kids to play with cards.
Well, I also sort of feel like if you're building a fucking EDH deck, I'm so bored about talking about fucking EDH. How many vampire decks are there versus how many demon decks? Because
that's the thing. I've got demon deck. I'd love to put this in it.
But they're sort of inaccessible as a creature type.
I suppose.
Angels have the support of being they all kind of buff each other, or you can get things that buff all your flying creatures or whatever. And black doesn't really do that. Black doesn't do type.
Yeah, demons don't. Well, demons aren't supposed to work with each other, right? They're supposed to work independently.
Whereas angels kind of are a type.
Yeah, they're the Valkyries,
zombies and rats, fine, but demons don't really work.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway.
So from a very black card to a very red card. Twin Flame Tyrant. 3 red for a 3/5. Only a 3/5? Well, it's a dragon flying. If a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage.
Instead.
Yeah.
Well,
double damage.
That's about as fucking red as you can get, isn't it?
Yeah, twinning that with... so you double that with Miriam, and then everyone's having a real bad time.
Yeah.
It's super, super red. Job only paid enough for 1 head. I'm out. Pren, Veteran Mercenary. Yeah, I like... Or Perrin, Veteran Mercenary.
I like how some of the motifs in this artwork are flames and lightning. Because it's like they've kind of gone... Red does flames and lightning, guys.
But there are 2 heads.
Yeah.
Oh, this is just a red card. And
I'm slightly annoyed that one of them isn't breathing like storm breath.
Yeah. It's a dragon, dude. I will always find dragons cool, but they will always just be as cool. The coolest dragon is only so cool, but the least cool dragon is pretty fucking cool. So the ceiling, the floor's quite high, but the ceiling's quite low.
If you're a dragon, you're already pretty cool.
Yeah.
But dragons can only be so cool because there's just
there's just so many dragons.
It's a lot, but they're very busy as well.
Yeah, and also this guy's not a legend. It's just another again. Replace this artwork with any other dragon artwork, and I'm like, yep.
It's all you. I tell you why you've hit the nail on the head. Why dragons can't be that cool is because there's never a chill, unfussed dragon. Dragons aren't cool.
Yeah, the only time we've seen one chill is when he's in the library, and that's fucking Nicol Bolas. He tries to take over the multiverse multiple times.
Nicol Bolas isn't so much a dragon as he is a Nicol Bolas. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Right, so from one great worm to another.
Oh,
that was pretty good.
It works enough.
Because dragons are worms in some lore.
You don't know if you explain it gets worse.
Yeah, okay, right, cool. So Quilled Great Worm, 4 green for a 7/7 trample. I'm sorry, it's not Colossal Dreadmore, guys. I'm so sorry.
I'm well happy about the fact that it's not a dinosaur.
I'm glad that there's not a Colossal Dreadmore in this set.
That's not one of us peeing, by the way. That's a friend of ours filling up a water bottle.
In the background, yeah. So this is a 7/7 trample. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage during your turn, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. It must survive to get these counters. You may cast this card from your graveyard by removing 6 counters from among creatures you control in addition to paying its other costs. So, green, the creatures like sticking around, coming back over and over again, but they also just want to be super aggro. Oh, what did I say first? Sorry. I didn't do that. Oh no, I did this after the Planeswalkers. That was for Planeswalkers. I didn't give these guys little fucking quotes for what they do.
Oh, did you not give them little cute names?
No.
Do you not spend moments of your day doing that?
No. I did it.
I'm sort of happy about that. Is that okay?
So interestingly, this is a worm. It's not a dinosaur. It's not a hydra. It's known. Big worms have been around for a really long time.
But what is the green other than elves? Yeah. Is it elves?
But elves aren't the big creature. You've got the big monster creature
the big thing.
and the little
I'm
creature.
slightly surprised they didn't go for dinosaur.
Yeah, I'm slightly surprised they didn't go for hydra. But I mean, there are again a few hydras in this set.
What is a worm if not a single hydra?
Single-headed hydra, yeah, I agree. And what makes it a hydra apart from the fact it has multiple... Yeah, cool. So, yeah, it makes all your stuff bigger when when they deal damage. Green go burr, that's the whole point, right? I mean, green doesn't go burr because that would make it jund, but...
oh, dear.
That was another magic
What
joke.
do we get? What is happening here?
Didn't like it. That's fine.
Is that Coke Zero in that Jack Daniels and Coke?
It is. There's a mild amount of Coke Zero in this Jack Daniels.
Oh, right, so it's not the sugar, it's maybe the caffeine. No, the design, just to go back to the flavour, the design of this worm is pretty rad. A quilt, like a feathered worm, with like beak more.
Whereas the alternate artwork, it is like spiny as spines can possibly be. You know the beast we reviewed or talked about in the Jumpstart thing.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Super spiky.
He's like a big porcupine.
Oh my god, he's super porcupine.
Because quill works in both
ways,
contexts.
yeah. Porcupines are quilled, exactly. Yeah, really cool. A nice cycle of creatures. I think they all do cool things. Very, very of the colour. And then one last cycle I want to talk about before we then get into some legends. Only one of these, so two of these cards being new and three of them being reprints. These are if that was the peak of what the creature at Mythic Rarity looks like, what's the peak of non-creature at Mythic Rarity for the colours? So for white, we get a new one, Valkyrie's Call, 3 white, an enchantment. Whenever a non-token, non-angel creature you control dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. It has flying and is an angel in addition to its other types. Flavor text, welcome, worthy one. So this is Kaldheimian, kind of Hymian Floor. This is the Valhalla thing of where you die, you actually gonna get, reborn into this lovely, fantastic afterlife. This is really strong.
Yeah.
You just put this in a sack deck, sack all your stuff off, and they come out bigger and flyier.
Could this go into my Archangel Avacyn deck, do you reckon?
The only problem... Yeah, 100%.
Whoopsie daisy.
Oh, no. Yeah, because it's prevent... does she only get protection against non-angels, or just to every other creature?
Everything gets indestructible when she comes in.
That's pretty good. Yeah. Spicy.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is really strong. It's a really cool effect. I like enchantments. I've said this before. It's a spell that keeps on spelling. So yeah, big fan. Omniscience is the blue one. This has been out for or been known for a really long time. I don't know if whether or not. So I guess a quick reversal. If black is all about things dying, it's not necessarily all about the recursion. It's weird that white is getting such a very key. This is what we want white to be talking about. Okay, angels, everything comes back with counters and flying and angels.
White classically was the recursion.
Exactly. I think that there is a 4-mana version of Zombify that's white. I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. Evangelize, I think, maybe something like that.
It's going to be like Angelicify.
Yeah. The fact that they're just saying that, no, this is what white does now. It brings a bunch of stuff back. There are a bunch of other cards in the set that also bring back things from the graveyard. It's kind of nice that black and white are sharing this. It's a shame that those are still both the colours of aristocrats because it makes the combination a little bit strong.
This is maybe something we'll do in an episode. We need to have a little bit of a production meeting about like this year ahead. I think. Yeah, because we haven't had a production meeting for 4 years. Since we first, the first one was let's start a podcast.
Yeah, the second was like, okay, what are we actually going to do properly?
We need to have a meeting about like maybe the next year's worth of content because I have some thoughts and feelings. One of them is let's do a sort of redux on the two colour pairs. I still maintain black and white is the most beautifully balanced and synergistic of all the color pairs for exactly the reasons you're talking about with this and if this is those colors distilled, just proves me right.
It's true. So going from one all-knowing being to omniscience, sure, I think it's maybe a tiny little bit pushed. This is the kind of card that you open and you go, what the fuck?
No, you can't have a pop at me for being like the first ability on Chandra Flameshaper is too much. You're like, well, Andy, it's 7 mana. How much mana is Omniscience?
10.
Thank you. What does it do?
Allows you to play everything from your hand for free.
But you already have 10 mana. So what does it matter?
I think this is just one of those things where you read the line and you're like, oh, this is why people don't like blue players.
I like that they've put this in the set. I think they kept the Jason Chan artwork.
I think it's honest. Also, flavor text, if you haven't heard it in a while. The things I once imagined would be my greatest achievements were only the first steps towards a future I can only begin to fathom.
Do you remember when Jace was cool?
Yeah, right.
And he wasn't just a deadbeat dad?
Yeah. A deadbeat. So true. He immediately gets a son, leaves him in fucking Duskmoor.
Hey, Moth Demon, take my boy.
Yeah, sorry, is this the agency? Yeah, you said I need to take like special Yeah, I've lost him. Well, I know where he is. But you're not going to be happy about it.
Please don't tell my wife. She's literally a snake demon scorpion lady.
She will literally petrify me to death. Fantastic. So from one 10 mana spell to now a 9 mana spell. I guess the Herald of Eternal Dawn was, 7 mana as well. So these are all pricey cards. Rise of the Dark Realms. Now, I know you say that Liliana's a bit old hat, whatever.
I never said that.
Ish, is in like within that kind of realm of let's get someone new and refreshing.
I'm saying she's had a whole lot of time.
This is such a cool black.
She's
black
a great
spell.
She's a great
This
character.
is a really cool. You look at it and you go, black's cool. You look at Omniscience and go, what the fuck? You look at this and go, oh shit, yeah.
I'm a bit annoyed they've reprinted this since I recently bought one for a deck.
You know what you should have done?
Spenny.
Should have just bought the Mirko Vosk pre-con because it had Necromancy, Reanimate Dead, Rise of the Dark Red, all the cards you've recently bought in it all together.
I'm not good at magic.
It's like investing in magic is tough to do efficiently, okay? And then, so Red has the other new one, and this is kind of a cool one. I'm surprised we haven't seen this before, this kind of effect. Rite of the Dragon Caller.
Sick name. I love that.
4 red. Well, this is also because that's Dragon Speaker. Yeah, Dragon Speaker Shaman, not Dragon Caller. Anyway, Rise of the Dragon Caller. 4 red for an enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, make a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. All at once, a quiet world was seized by wings, claws, fangs, and fire.
Dragons! Love it.
Great, fantastic. It wants you to be flapping about, but it also wants you to be doing it with some little fire, make big dragon.
Pindersky is a pretty good magic artist.
Yeah, I also kind of like it's cyclical. Like, we're always going to come back round to dragons. Like, the artwork is like 2 dragons clearly like in like a Twinferno kind of thing, of where they're spinning around each other, flicking fire. I mean, it's dragons. There's fire. It's, you've seen this artwork and other things, but it's cool. It looks really cool. And then Doubling Season.
Is this a bit boring?
But Doubling Season, I think, is the pinnacle for this card used to be so good in EDH, but now I look at it and I go, 5 mana's a lot. Like, at any point, I know that this is the cheapest out of this cycle. I know this is the cheapest out of this cycle, but I have cut this card from so many decks where I look and I go, yeah, I know it's powerful. This is the definition of over-expensive staple, in my mind. The only reason I like it here is because green is, like, I like the fact that it's teaching people that green likes doing 2 different things. It likes building things up, boop, 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 token, counters, which then works to synergize with the white. But then also, hey, if you're ever making any kind of tokens, double those up as well. I do like this exponential idea of where whatever green does, it usually does it twice as fast and as powerful as other colours because it is so fast on the mana scale. And I do like that this is just a basic representation of that. And I like that they're saying that no, this isn't like some super expensive thing. This is just a very generic, basic thing of what we expect people to think of when we think green.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doubling Season, of course.
Yeah, I don't know what else it would be. I mean, I guess I just...
There isn't a good enough overrun for it to have been an overrun. Like, Finale of Devastation, maybe.
Finale of Devastation would have been good.
It could have been Crater Hoof, but that's a creature. So if you're doing a big non-creature, I don't know what else you could do. Genesis Wave? Oh, wait, that's in the set. Rare.
Genesis
Never mind.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fine.
So those are the cycles. That's just us talking generically about kind of what they must be thinking in terms of, like, this is what we want our colours represented by. Let's talk some legends.
Yeah, we might need to do a bit of a speed round.
How fast are we in? How long?
Oh, we're about 50 minutes.
Fuck. We ran
on
too
say.
much at the beginning.
Well, there's 47 cards with the legendary subtype in it, or super type.
Yeah.
A lot of those are the planeswalkers we've just spoken about. Half of them are reprints, so we can kind of go through. But the ones that are interesting are where they've brought cards from characters that we've seen before, a lot of which are in 2 colours, and then they've monocoloured them because obviously this set is focusing more on that, not totally, but more on that.
Yeah. Or they've changed their entire colour composition entirely from what we've seen them last.
Yeah,
to
interesting.
What they are now. Yeah.
So let's go through it. So I'm doing this on Scryfall now. We're on Mythic Spoiler beforehand if you're following along at home. And I've done it in colour order with alphabetical. So Ajani, Call of the Pride, we've spoken about. Arabo, the first Fang.
Yeah, Arabo.
2 in a white. Cat avatar, 2/2. Other cats you control get +1/+1. Whenever Arabo and another token cat you control enters, create a 1/1 white cat creature token. And its flavor text is, it's said all cats in the multiverse trace their lineage back to him, from the meekest kitten to the mightiest lion. So firstly, gendered, Arabo is a him. And secondly, confirmed Urcat.
Yes, Urcat. It's interesting that... He's such a chonky boy. I've just got to this artwork and it made me snort. I like the fact that they've gone, hey, if we're going to make cats the biggest thing, or white's big creature type, let's give you their biggest version, the king, as you say, the avatar, the great Arabo, the first Fang. I do feel like both his artworks are a little derpy. They make him look a little bit
they've monocolored
cumbersome.
This is the Cat.
Yeah.
You wouldn't take the Dragon and be like, he's red now.
But I think there's only exactly 1 cat in green in this. And you can't put, obviously, because of eminence,
I just think there should have been... Anyway, we're dwelling. I think it's an interesting thing to do. I think they've maybe reduxed him a bit too much.
Fair enough.
Giada, Font of Hope, she of a billion alternate arts.
Yep.
Giselle Goldmain, which we've got some Ajani, Pride, Love. Lyndon, Steadfast Queen, fucking my queen, awesome character. Lyra Dawnbringer, Sir Alan the Lion's Claw, Zatalpa!
They really can't stop the flap.
This card is a banger.
Is Zatalpa in this set, or is Zatalpa in the Jumpstart? Is it
Foundations, bro.
But is it covering... Because I don't see Zatalpa here.
What's that a set symbol of?
Oh, right. Yeah, it's 584. In the
it's got the Foundations stamp on it.
Yeah, I don't think that's how it works. I think it's an ancillary product. So the collector number's way too late for it to be...
Well, alright, fine, whatever. They're all reprints. Arcanus the Omnipotent.
Yep.
Interesting reprint. This is what we can remember what he was called.
He's Jace. It's just Jace before they knew that they wanted to call him Jace.
Yeah. Kaito Cunning Infiltrator. Curo the Rising Tide.
Yeah.
Confirmed. D-sparked.
The Magali Villeneuve artwork goes hard. She wants Cura to look thick, and she succeeds.
I mean, Cura's looked thick in quite a few artworks. I mean, of the Julian Cook Yun Wen artwork is also pretty cool. It's very different for her.
Yeah.
It's like a lot more somber. 2 and a blue for a 3/2 Merfolk. Noble, pretty cool. When Cura enters, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. And then Threshold, whenever Cura attacks, if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you may create a Scion of the Deep, a legendary 8/8 blue octopus creature token. Does blue things and sea creature shit.
So I guess the question here is why Noble? Like, they don't have nobility on Zendikar in the Merfolk tribes.
But
is it because she's got this thing and she's like, yo,
she's got the Biden.
I've got the fucking Biden.
Maybe she is now heralded.
This is probably her at her like peak ego. Though it can't be because she's desparked here. Did she get the thing back? I thought she lost it. Did she not lose it?
I don't think so.
Am I making up lore?
I think it might.
Okay, fair enough.
Liliana Dreadhorde General, Myojin of Knight's Reach. Cool. Tiny Bones, Bauble Burglar. A 1 and a black for a 1/3 Skeleton Rogue. Whenever an opponent discards a card, exile it from their graveyard with a stash counter on it. During your turn, you may play cards you don't own with a stash counter on it from exile, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. Jesus, there's a lot of words in this. 3 and a black, tap, each opponent discards a card. There you go, discarding cards. Activate and use a sorcery.
Yeah.
Fine.
He's got way more flesh than I remember him having in any of his other artworks.
Yeah, he's not really Tiny Bones, is he?
Can we please get some actual lore about this guy, apart from him just being this cool little, like, thiefy dude?
Well, you know what? I actually kind of like... This is an interesting one. So there are 2 cheeky little critter legendary creatures, right?
Yeah,
that they've banked on. And remember, they designed these sets years in advance. Tiny Bones obviously got a big pop when they were first printed way back when. But they've had them in lots of stuff, like Outlaws of Thunder Junction, XYZ. They've given a fucking secret lair. So between him and Loot, they've definitely gone, one of these will be super popular, and like Tiny Bones is popular, and Loot I think is very divisive. But it's just interesting that they've definitely rolled the dice on these ones, and Tiny Bones thankfully has popped for people.
Yeah, I feel like he and Kaito need to have like a team up, you know? Both little thiefy scamps.
Zul Ashur, Lich Lord. This is a new card. 1 and a black, 2/2, Zombie Warlock, Ward, pay 2 life. Tap, you may cast a zombie creature card from the graveyard this turn. I love that this is simple. I love that the Ward, pay 2 life is reasonable for the effect that it's protecting.
Yeah.
Sick artwork as well. By Raluca Marenchu. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong. Black magic is purple.
Black magic is purple.
Yeah, that's just the
it
law.
should have just been the purple colour.
Yeah. I don't know where this is from. I don't think it's in Australia, is it? It could be.
I am literally right now checking if he's got a, a wiki page. I should have done this before. He was the one character I was like, do we know this guy already? No, he's unknown.
The alt art's also pretty cool.
I
actually don't think it is in Australia because the alt art has people in armour, like plate armour.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, he looks like
Zombie Lord.
Could be Dominaria.
Very cool. Yeah, very, very dominant. If it's Liliana, it's very sort of Liliana coded.
Zul, is it he?
I think it's fairly ambiguous.
Yeah, it's fairly ambiguous. It looks like long hair. Hard to tell. Yeah, hard to tell. Cool. Really like the effect.
Who cares? Sick Lich Lord. Chandra Flame Shaper. Drakuseth More of Flames. Atali Primal Storm. They fucking love Atali.
Atali is great. What an effect.
Where is my Tetzimoc love?
It's a weird ability to put in a core set.
I love it. Oh, this card got me burned. I self-burned on this card on socials. Kellen playing a Trailblazer.
Yeah.
One red. Red. For a 2/1 human fairy scout. Pretty cool creature types. 1 and a red. If Kellen is a scout, it becomes a human fairy detective and gains whenever Kellen deals combat damage to a player. Exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. And then 2 and a red. If Kellen is a detective, it becomes a 3/2 human fairy rogue and gains double strike. Zoltan Boris does one of the artworks. Now, here's how I burned myself.
Right.
Settling. I got really annoyed at this card. And I went, fucking hell. We've had really interesting multicolours of Kellen. We've seen him go through a rainbow of personalities, X, Y, and Z. And they all had the adventure mechanic, because that was what made him special. And now they've reduxed him. And yeah, okay, his abilities show his story. But boo, hiss, what have they done to our fairy boy? And then immediately everyone jumped on my nuts, quite rightly, because they went, well, A, it's really impressive what they've done with his abilities. And his Thunder Junction card didn't have adventure.
I was going to say, I literally have a commander deck of him. I was like, oh, wait. So the thing that I get, right? Well, the thing that I find interesting is that he went through all of these different colours, but at no point do those other colours show up, and at no point does the mana cost require it to be a transition. It's only through his emotions and through his impulses, impulse draw being a red mechanic. It's only through those impulses that these developments happen. My question mark is the picture of him at the end of his quest, because the name that you're paying for 1 red isn't actually the person you're seeing in the artwork. The person you're seeing in the artwork is once you've got through the figure of destiny thing, of where you keep upgrading this person once they go through their experiences. And I guess I do like the fact of all the characters, he is the one that recently has had the most drastic changes as a character. So you see that develop as it goes, and you can get into the micro of being a detective and wanting to seek more things and understand more things allows you to go burn through his deck quicker with exiling things off the top. The more he gets involved, the more he learns, and obviously having double strike, because the more he learns, and then he eventually gets his twin little so that's where the double strike and the rogue comes from. I do like this idea. I guess the only problem with it is that if you open a pack, and this is the first first magic pack you get, and you open it and you go, oh, this guy's cool, he goes through some development and stuff, you still don't know enough to know that this has already happened on a larger scale across the last 4 years of Magic. I do think he's cool.
It's a very nuanced card.
For me, it feels like a throwback of a card mechanic, even though we do see it fairly often. But also then to a throwback of a character, how we originally saw them, but then also pays homage to the journey he's made as well. And I guess maybe they get enough feedback about Kellen being a liked character. They're like, hey, it's worth him giving... Because this is 2 different OTJ legends as well, side by side, that have both recently been in the story. I like the idea that, he was the guy who went out on an adventure, and I guess maybe might do something in the future. I feel like he's boring now. Now he's happy and settled down.
It's fine to have characters that have a short story. Yeah. He was part of Magic for half a year.
You've got to go and find Oko. You found him on Cowboy Plane, apparently. Got involved in a heist and then settled down with your Vamp Queen.
He was a good little ramp on out of Phyrexian.
Yeah. He reminded me of, Young Indy.
Yeah. Anyway. Krenko Mob Boss. Here's an artwork that's not the...
New artwork? Yeah. Great. Give me an artwork.
Lathlis Dragon Queen. Dwynen Guiltlif Dayan.
Dwynen
Guiltlif Dayan. That's a fucking Lord of the Rings name if there was one. Fing the Fangbearer. Gulta Primal Hunger. So literally it's Tetsamok. That's the only one.
You don't get Nazahul. There's no Nazahul.
Oh, guess that's fine then. Ugh, Christ. This is what's wrong with Magic.
I'm so glad that the Green Mythic isn't a dinosaur. Where's my black dinosaur?
Loot, Exuberant Explorer.
This one took me off guard.
Oh, I can't stand this character now.
Because he's here without Vraska and without Jace.
Why is he
just him?
He's too young to be doing this power pose.
I'm going to say it now, and I understand that the fucking timeline of this set is all over the place. But when is this? When is this?
Yeah.
Justify, please.
He's too... Yeah.
You can't just go, from whenever. No!
When is it? There's an Omen Path.
He's too important,
2 and a green for a Beast Noble, 1/4. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. 4 and 2 green, tap. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with mana value less or equal to the number of lands you control from among them and put them onto the battlefield. Put the rest onto the bottom in a random order.
Be a Beast Noble Scout, please. I like this idea that he's a pioneerer and then he encourages other people by going, hey, look at these places. Like every time he goes exploring, he brings someone else along with him.
I don't like his design. I don't like what he's doing for Magic. I'm going to just move on.
Okay, carry
on. Suruk the Hunt Caller. Do you know what? It makes me... I'm not going to dwell on it too long. It makes me a little bit sad when we see the cards of all the Khans when they're not the Khans in the alternate timeline.
Yeah.
Zurgo
deserved it. No, but he deserved it.
He was just
we're going to come back to them. We're going to see maybe some of them. It's hard to know. Tarkir's all wibbly-wobbly.
Yeah, true. Vivian Reed. Kaikar, Zephyr Awakener.
Yeah.
2 white, blue for a 3/4 bird wizard. Flying, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose one. Exile target creature you control, return that card to battlefield under its own control at the beginning of the next end step, so a flicker. Create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying.
This is what white does. It blinks things, makes flyers.
No sign of his... So he's making a white spirit
Still in the sky, can't see where he's from. Now, this is even more confusing. Is it flame or is it birds?
Yeah. Anyway. This is a cool one. Alicia, who laughs at fate.
Reddit had a field day this day.
Yeah, because this is the fucking sickest card for one of its sickest characters.
All the various different different things you can the way you can make her name sound.
Human Warrior, first strike. Whenever Alicia attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. Raid at the beginning of your end step. If you attacked this turn, return target creature card with mana value less or equal to Alicia's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. 2/2. Artists, Ekaterina Burmak for the mainstay, and then Dimitri Burmak for the alt art.
I haven't seen the alt art, actually. Can I have a look-see quickly?
She looks sick.
Yeah. And nice and older. Like they did this with the Pride Across the Multiverse, of where she's pulling up the hand of another initiate. Also understood probably to be trans with the binding.
She's binding, yeah.
So I guess, and it's quite nice to be like, wait, she's a bit older there, and then they've gone full Gyre on her. That's what we can call it.
I mean, older Mardus are hard to come by.
Yeah, true. I guess because of their the way they
just love running into shit.
They love the life they live.
Yeah,
lovely.
Garner, Bloodfist of Keld. That's not a new card, is it? No, that's Dominaria United.
Dominaria, exactly. Yeah.
Halana and Elena, partners. Sick.
Great to have them back.
Ruby, Daring Tracker. Sick. Mm-hmm. I love that character and that card. Another Ekaterina Burmak. Maybe they're my favourite artist. Who knows? Ailey, Eternal Pilgrim. One of your faves. Elenda, Saint of Dusk. Here we go. 2 white black for a Vampire Knight 4/4. Lifelink hexproof from instance. As long as your life total is greater than your starting life total, Elenda gets +1/+1 and has menace. Elenda gets an additional 5/5 as long as your life total is at least 10 or greater than your starting life total. You have learned nothing in my absence. Chris Rahn artwork. Thank you, Chris Rahn. Maybe Chris Rahn's my favourite artist.
1, can't wait to get back to her in the story. She's going to rip shit up. 2, flavour-wise, justify protection from instance for me. Why specifically quicker spells? Not just magic in general, but quicker spells.
Well, she's underneath the immortal sun in the artwork. Is there something there?
But why would it be protection from... I mean, you don't want to make it too powerful, but why specifically instance, you know?
She's fencing as well, which is pretty cool.
And her ability doesn't require her to be, in combat, so you're like, or you can't get her in the middle of combat while she's doing her thing.
This is if we sound chip this, I'm going, ooh, the immortal sun, and you're going, play patterns, and I'm going, oh, she's fencing, and you're going, justify the mechanic.
Yeah, but justify the mechanic flavorfully. How does it, it's the only card in the set that has hexproof from something, which is interesting in of itself. I just think it's one of those things of where, as a new player, I might look at that and go, that's cool, but what does it mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know.
But she's great. I love Elenda. She's one of the main reasons I'm excited to go back to Torozon.
Balmor, Battle Mage Captain. I couldn't make that deck work. Okay. Did you like Niv Mizzet? Did you also like...
Which one?
Niv Mizzet. Did you like Niv Mizzet? Well, I give you Niv Mizzet, but this time in blue-red again.
Again, yeah.
Niv Mizzet Visionary. Flying, you have no maximum hand side. Oh, he's a dragon wizard, in case y'all didn't know.
Weren't aware. He's not an avatar, right, at this point?
Not at this point. Whenever a source you control deals knockout damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. Hey, do you want to go infinite with yourself, Niv Mizzet? Ravnica's sharpest mind at its biggest.
Of course, if any character was to go infinite on himself, it's Niv Mizzet.
I I think it's a little bit lazy. I like the Niv Mizzets.
It's back to source, right? This is a really important character, but you don't want to do him as a 5-mana iteration in his current form, so you just go back to source. But you don't want to print one of his originals because you've been reprinting them to death anyway, so why not just do yet another Niv Mizzet, and we can see, I think, probably the 7th? I think it's the 7th iteration. I think we've had 3 5-colour, we had 3 iterations of him as blue-red, and now this is the 7th. That's just off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure that's how it is.
I don't think it's that many.
I'm pretty sure we've had 3 of him since he's been an avatar. Okay. And then we've had 3, he was 3 before that. But anyway, I think it's a really cool card. It's a really cool expression of what blue-red does, and I like a burn commander, but
everyone likes Niv Mizzet.
It's another 6-mana commander that does stupid stuff in a Spellslinger deck.
Avika, Enigma Goliath, one of the most bonkers pushed cards in Magic, and I love it. Lateral Blade of the Elves, another push card. Aurelia the War Leader, crowd pleaser. Coma, World Eater.
So when I first saw this, because it's got the same mana cost, 3 green, green, blue, blue, I genuinely just didn't see anything lower and went, yeah, they just reprinted Coma.
Legendary Creature Serpent. This spell can't be countered. Trample Ward 4. Whenever Coma deals combat damage to a player, create 4 3/3 blue serpent creature tokens named Coma's Coil. 8/12.
It's an 8/12.
The gods imprisoned Coma, fearing he would eventually devour the cosmos himself. So this is before he got completed.
Yes.
Poor Coma.
This is a really cool version of him. I'm glad that they didn't just reprint, because I feel like the play pattern of that card is pretty poor.
Oh, well, that's one of the most grim cards ever printed in Magic.
I'm genuinely, because of the way Maelstrom Wonder likes to play, I'm genuinely thinking of swapping the OG Coma out for this Coma, because it wants to just get in and attack and make a bunch of dudes.
Prime Speakers and Zagana. Oh, God, I think she's been outclassed in EDH, which is a shame because she's great. Tatiova, Benthic Druid, one of the most pushed uncommons of all time. Zimone, Paradox Sculptor, 2 green-blue for a 1/4 human wizard. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. Blue-green, tap, double the number of each kind of counter on up to 2 target creatures and or artifacts you control. Extra planar geometry isn't so hard once you get used to thinking in 12 dimensions.
Now this is where I get annoyed a little bit. Not because of Zimone. It's nice that she's getting such focus.
Yeah.
They really clearly want this archetype of person, not just like archetype of card, because all Simic cards are bullshit. But it's just nice to have this representation, a younger black woman being so pushed into Magic space. Now that Kaya's kind of not in the focus anymore, it's really nice to have consistent representation instead of it being
in what is basically a Magic version of a STEM, education path.
It is weird to have, again, now in this particular moment, to have these characters so close together when we've just had a version of her in the main set and then a commander version, in the same way that Kaito's had a version recently. Like, it does feel a bit condensed now. I like the fact that that she does. I think she's fine, but also I don't like the in 12 dimensions. Now, don't get me wrong. Thinking in 4 dimensions is already pretty fucking weird for like human minds, because we can't really comprehend that. And I understand magic and stuff, but 12 dimensions is kind of taking the piss.
Well, yes. However, to explain it away with magic, we don't know what her home plane is. Is it Arcavios?
Well, if she's not a planeswalker, then it has to be.
Well, but they had knowledge of all the other planes. Are all the mages from Arcavios?
But they didn't have Omen Pass before.
Okay, fair enough. So that's maybe that's hurdle 1.
Yeah.
Hurdle 2.
Yeah, keep giving me that.
Hurdle 2 is, do we know what her actual magic is? Is Arcavios just like generic magic plane, or do they have like, oh no, we're telepaths, we've got magical eidetic memory, we've got this, that, and the other.
I like the fact that they know how to use magic to behold physics in all its complexity and manipulate it slightly.
But then, do the brains of all the Arcavians, can they accept all of that knowledge?
I don't know. That's
what I'm saying.
That's why I think 12 is just that little bit where I know that, Matt, you can just go, oh, let's just say a bonkers number. That's like saying, oh, when you're a kid, and you're like, oh, I sold it for $57 billion. And you're like, well, that just sounds silly.
I like it. I think it's interesting that again, a little bit like banking on Tiny Bones, they had a big pop for Quintorius when Strixhaven came out, but I feel like all the other students are like, Dina's not had another card.
No. Did we not see her in something?
I think was she on like a double card?
Yeah, she was like a digital. I think she was her artwork was in something. I'm sure I've seen it, because I saw she has like like an umbrella or something.
Sure, but do you know what I mean? Like Ruther, I think didn't get as much of a pop, unfortunately.
No.
Kellen had the baggage of all the controversy which his school had, and him as a character, and his the whole Tiger Dad thing. Not going to get into that. So I think it was going to be either maybe it just was always going to be Zimone and Quint.
It's nice having young. Now there's Omen Pass, and I guess you have to be a little bit careful. You don't want children being in danger and stuff. But it is nice having younger characters. She's literally right next to
having agency.
You've got this 14,000-year-old dragon, but actually this girl probably knows more about maths than he does.
Yeah. Muldrotha the Gravetide, Progenitors!
I'm surprised at both of these being in the core set.
I will talk about the colours in a second.
Cool.
I need to pee, but I've got 2 facts for you.
Nice.
Pyromancer's Goggles and Ramos the Dragon Engine. So, fact about that ties into Muldrotha. So, of all the legendary creatures, all of the colour pairs are represented, except for blue, black, and black-green.
In the rares.
In the legendary creatures.
Oh, in legendaries, right, okay.
Simic has fucking 4, but whatever. But they are represented in the only triple colour legend.
Okay.
So I think they've done that on purpose.
Okay.
And then, obviously, Progenitus and Ramos are the 2 5-colour ones. So that's an interesting thing. I have nothing to say on that. It's just kind of interesting that they've elected to not do the legends for those. My other little fact is about where all the planes represented in all the legendaries. I did this very quickly on the bus, so someone who has more time than I do can maybe confirm or deny. Hazard a guess, which plane is most represented out of all the legends?
Alara.
Dominaria. By a big margin.
Oh, really?
Unknown planes follow it, and then we have, for tied third place, Ravnica, Ixalan, and Eldraine.
Damn it.
The planes represented in the legends are Tarkir with 2, Alara 3, Unknown, let's say 7, I can't read my writing, Ravnica 4, Zendikar 1, Dominaria, a billion of them, I think it's more like 9, Kaladesh 1, Lorwyn 1, Ixalan 4, Kaldheim 3, Capenna 1, Innistrad only 1, Kamigawa 2, Eldraine 4, Theros 1, New Phyrexia 1, Arcavios / Strixhaven 1.
I guess there's not a lot of talking about planes. There's not a lot of plane locations and things like this here. Like, they don't really seem to be caring about too much about specifically where we are. Or is it like, this character is only like this because they're from this place. It's more about the character is like this because they are this colour.
What I like about this set coming in one way is because they have to do a big core set style thing. Is I think you have to give them so much props that they showed a lot of grit, not just to be like, Ravnica's really popular, like, everyone loves Dominaria that hard, you know what I mean? Like, they really did go, what does the set need to function? And then they've made interesting choices, flavour-wise, to make it pop as a Magic set.
Yeah.
And you know what? As much as I'm of Orthos, and I'd love every one of them to be pieces of art rather than game mechanics, maybe, I think that's maybe the best way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, they still do full art treatments for the basics. There are 2 full art cycles, each of them having a character in them that's kind of like... So there's a Liliana Swamp, there's a Zimone Island,
there's
Najani Plains.
It's either the signifying legend for whatever like that thing is. I mean, Zimone's the 2-colour one, I guess, but all the Planeswalker, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really nice, because now you can, if you want to make a deck specific to those people, have a Tiny Bones deck,
kind of
deck,
nice.
You can just focus on them. And again, this is going to be printed for a long time. The Kaito Island is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Adam Piquet. Yeah, Adam Piquet might be my favourite artist.
Yeah, he's on a Kamigawa Onsen, which is nice.
So yeah, cool. We're not going to go into any further details. There's maybe some other things we could pick out at a future date where we get into the nitty gritty of it, because again, this set's going to be out for 5 years. But this is kind of how they want to represent the game, and I don't dislike any of it. None of it rubs me up the wrong way.
No, I think it's good.
Apart from the Planeswalker choices, but
well, no, but that's us being pedantic, because that's what we're doing here.
And again, I don't actually have any real problem. I do think Nishandra is maybe just a question mark. Again, I'm just going to assume that here she's about 45, and they're going, hey, look, she survives a bit longer, and just kind of giving you a sneak peek of that.
Yeah.
You know, one day we're going to look at the artwork and be like, oh my god, that's Nissa's necklace of when she gave it to her, Nissa died.
Let us know how you feel on our social medias. Our Twitter is @MTFlavouring. My personal Twitter is @AndyManface. Nathan's, yours is
the Fox in the Moon.
Emails go to mtflavouring@gmail.com. This set's going to be out for a while, as Nathan says. We'll talk about it more in the future. But let us know how you feel about Magic in general. There's been a lot going on. I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about. And please forgive me for making moronic comments about how the game's actually played. I don't even know how this game works. So
He says.
when I talk about standard,
Oh, right, yeah, cool.
who fucking knows?
Saying that with your 2-mana commanders game, whatever, you know. So. Anyway.
Thank you so much for listening. This has been Magic the Flavouring.
We will see you soon.